Section 5, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender community. One of the fastest and newest growing areas of fair housing discrimination is taking place among members of the LGBT community. As LGBT becomes more accepted in society, there will be pockets where those members of the community will be discriminated against due to intolerance of lifestyle. HUD has taken great strides to ensure this type of discrimination does not occur, especially in areas where federal money was used to develop the rental facility or the homes were built with federal funding. HUD's policy is as follows. The Federal Fair Housing Act prohibits housing discrimination based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, disability, and familial status. For example, where there's a presence of children in the household. The Fair Housing Act does not specifically include sexual orientation and gender identity as prohibited bases. These are not prohibited classes, or protected classes, I should say. However, a lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender person's experience with sexual orientation or gender identity housing discrimination may still be covered by the Fair Housing Act. In addition, housing providers that receive HUD funding have loans insured by the Federal Housing Administration, as well as lenders insured by FHA, may be subject to HUD program regulations intended to ensure equal access for LGBT persons. So in summary, this final rule, through the final rule from HUD, HUD is implementing policy to ensure that its core programs are open to all eligible individuals and families regardless of sexual orientation, gender identity, or marital status. So here's some examples that you may want to consider if you're working with clients who identify in the LGBT community. So for example, the gay man is evicted because his landlord believes he will infect other tenants with HIV or AIDS. The situation may constitute illegal disability discrimination under the Fair Housing Act because the man is perceived to have a disability. So it is not as a result of their identification, but more the perceived disability that the landlord may have. A property manager refuses to rent an apartment to a prospective tenant who is transgender. If the housing denial is because of the prospective tenant's nonconformity with gender stereotypes, it may constitute illegal discrimination on the basis of sex under the Fair Housing Act. In another example, we may have an underwriter for an FHA-insured loan who's reviewing an application where two male incomes are being used as the basis for the applicant's creditworthiness. The underwriter assumes the applicants are a gay couple and as a result denies the application despite the applicant's glowing credentials. This scenario may violate HUD regulations which prohibit FHA-insured lenders from taking actual or perceived sexual orientation into consideration in determining adequacy for an applicant's income. And also know that many state, city, and county laws specifically include sexual orientation and gender identity as prohibited bases. So you need to know within your state what the additional state laws are. And you can find a list of states on pages 122 and 123 where HUD is aware that specifically include sexual orientation and gender identity in their state fair housing laws. So if you have a general question about LGBT fair housing issues or need information about HUD regulations intended to ensure equal access of LGBT persons, please email them at the email address listed here, which would be lgbtfairhousing@hud.gov. So, poll question. Is anyone exempt from following fair housing laws? As we move into the next section, we're going to talk about exemptions. And so you may think about, do you know some people who are exempt? Have you heard that some people are exempt? Or do you feel that no one should be exempt from these laws? We will find out in one moment in the next section.